back to my channel. So today I have the 1 month-ish update on how my system is working out for me. So I thought I would go through 3 different things. I have my work and university traveler's notebook, I have my teacher bullet journal, and I have my teacher binder. Now I'm going to try and give you as complete a look as I can as to what I've got in here and how it's working. However, I do have to worry about privacy concerns for the students, so some things are definitely going to be covered up. I might not show you every single page, but I will do my best to let you see to let you have a pretty good look at how this is all working out. So first up, just move those to the side. I've got my work and university traveler's notebook. So let's see. I know I gave you guys a flip through before, so I'm not going to go super in depth. One of the things that I have been doing, and you'll notice I'm behind a couple of days at this point. So on this, I actually went ahead and I filled in with washi tape all of our holidays. So we have 4 2-week holidays during the school year, and actually this year we have 1 3-week holiday, which is kind of awesome. And then I've been going through and checking off just so I kind of see where I am in the month. And I also have paydays up through the end of 2017. They'll have the new one that comes out in January, I believe, so I can fill that in for the rest of the school year. So that's what I've been using this for. Going up to my monthly, so this is my current month. I just have a quick overview of what I've got each day. So if I have any like big appointments that need to go in here, I use this for future planning. So for example, I've got all the way up through our next holiday for the most part. And actually I need to fill that in. But yeah, so just kind of using this as a general overview. Then I've got my weekly. Oops. So I still have not done anything with these pages. Who knows if I will. But this is where I have a little bit more detailed, and to be perfectly honest, I fill in the stuff for my work, but I don't really use it for that because I have my teacher bujo. It's mostly going to be for university stuff, and since we're just kind of starting, it's really just that I have class. But once I have like exams and that kind of stuff, I'm going to use this side more. And then the final one is just information. And I'm not going to flip through this one because it's got like email addresses and regular addresses and like all that kind of stuff. But this is just any information that comes up. So like meetings I hear about and what have you, like I want to have the address or the email or the phone number of the person on hand. I just put it in here. So that's how this guy is going. In terms of work, it's not the most useful thing. I do keep it with me just in case in terms of like setting appointments. But for university, I think it is going to be invaluable once I get into things like writing my thesis and all of that kind of fun stuff. Next up, I think I will go ahead and I'll just do this binder first because this will be easier. Now I apologize, filming is going to be a little difficult because it's kind of big, but I think it'll give you a good idea. So I've got my binder, and you'll remember that I set up my 6 sections. So I actually did go ahead and label them. So I've got, so I have 2 copy. Oh, it's very hard to see. There we go. All right, so 2 copy, documents and important papers, class info, and then my 3 classes. So what I do, so I actually have my schedule on here, so I just have it at a glance if I need it. And then I've got some other papers that are just like really useful for me to have, contact for other teachers, all that kind of fun stuff. Then the copy section, when I'm at home, I print out 1 copy of something and I'll stick it in here with how many copies I need to make on a sticky note. And these are actually extra ones. I have a couple pages in here that I ended up deciding not to copy at the moment, so I just kind of left them in the back here. But you'll see that I have not yet set up for the coming week, which is why I don't have anything in here to make copies for. This, for example, this is where I keep the school calendar and a bunch of other stuff in here that I will not actually show you guys, but it's nice to just kind of have on hand. Next up is class info, which I definitely cannot show you. We have something called a trombinoscope, so you basically have a picture of each student and their name under there, and then I also have a full class list. One of the other things that I did is actually got a freebie from Teachers Pay Teachers, so I actually have all their birthdays. I haven't done anything with it yet, but I kind of wanted to have it in case. The other thing I have at the back is I had a couple of documents, that I use for all of my classes, and so I just put the originals back here because I didn't want to like lose them in one particular class. So this is just like a miscellaneous section. Then I've got my planning, which let me just pull out this guy. So this obviously is not filled in, but this is where I fill in for my unit. So I have all of the classes that I think I'll have in my unit, and actually most of my units end up being a little bit longer. Well, at least my first unit did, ended up being a little bit longer. And then I've got the general overview. So for example, I just printed this out and then I was making notes by hand, and I'll go back in and type this up later. I do passwords with my little 6th graders. So this is where I keep a running list so that I know like I gave the password out and we did it, and then the next one. So I just have an idea of what all of our passwords were so that I don't repeat any later on in the year. And then I have information on classroom English. So this is what I've told them to put in so that I can, if I go around and check, I know what they're supposed to have written down. And then this is how I do my lesson planning. So I will, at the end of class, not usually during class, but at the end of class, I usually will go back in and I'll check off what we actually got through, and then I'll kind of migrate, bullet journaling, you know what? I migrate what's going to go to the next class. And then I have a section for any notes. And then what I'll do sometimes is, after I go back through and update it, I'll print out a nice copy so that if next year I want to do the unit again, I know kind of what I did and how like the pacing went. So we'll see how that works. So far I've been doing it for all my classes and it works out fairly well. And then I just will keep adding to it. So basically what I also will do is anything, for example, this lesson was on Thursday. What I do is any worksheets that go with that, I put them in the back here so that I remember, oh yeah, I need to give them that worksheet, or like this was something that we did. So I needed to have this like for me to use. So I try to keep anything that has to do with a particular lesson inside the same sleeve. Oh dear. And that works the same for all of my other ones. So this is one where I've got it more filled out, and this is more filled out, as well. Let's see, and then go back through. So these are ones that I've actually updated to what we actually did in class. And you see, we'll go through there. And then these are ones that I have like updated notes for myself that I haven't actually reprinted out nicely. And my last one. So that's basically how this goes. So essentially it's a lesson planning binder in a lot of ways. And then I just keep other important information that I might need in here as well. And finally, we have this guy. So this has been invaluable. I use this and refer to it. Whoops, that was a binder clip that fell. I use this and refer to it all the time. So one of the things that if I were to do this again, I am not sure whether or not I would do the dashboard in the same way. So you'll see that I've actually got notes on here. However, I tend to write things out and notes out on scratch pieces of paper, and then I deal with it that way. So these were ones that I have had on my list for a while that I was just like, no, I need to write them down somewhere, so I'm using them. But in terms of my day-to-day planning, I tend to use scratch paper because I've got a lot of it, and it's just, I have more space. So this is one that I really like it, and I love the idea. So far, it's not working the way I thought it would, and I'm not sure if that'll change in the future. But so there, I've got in here my schedule once again, and I actually have in here some like information, so that's why it's paper clipped shut. I've got my index, calendar of events for school, so my weeklies, and you'll see I've already destroyed the top of this page. Oopsie daisy. So this is how a full school month is looking so far. So I have any of the evaluations we've done, so things that I've actually finished doing, grades I have, which I have not updated this, and I have a feeling I won't do this in the future because I do have my grade book, and then I've got some of the tasks that I need to work on. But like I said, I use scratch paper a lot just because it's just easier for me to kind of plan things out that way. So I haven't like filled up the space on here. And actually next week is October, so I won't fill up the space on here. But this one, I don't put anything on the calendars except for school stuff. So really, I probably didn't need to do the entire week, but for me, it gives me a good like overview, and I really see like what my timing is like. So I do any like meetings and stuff. I actually am starting in October to color code all of my classes so that I know like when they fall. And I hope that will kind of, I know where my classes are, but I'm hoping that color coding will help. So that these guys are all pretty much blank at this point because it's just in the future. And yes, that's July. So my curriculum pacing I have started doing. So what I've got is the left column is for my youngest, middle column is for my medium and or mid-range, and then right column is for my oldest students. I only have one class of each, so this works out really well for me. And what I've got is, rather than doing a solid line, I'm doing it on each class. Since I only work 3 days a week, this gives me a really good idea of how many classes it took. And you'll notice I've put a little 2 here because I actually see this group for 2 hours on Thursdays. So I know that that meant that we had 2 things. So what I would probably do, for example, if I finished a unit the first hour and started a new unit the second hour, then I could just do half the box with the color of the previous unit, and then half a box with the color for the unit that we're just starting. So I've only got the first units on here so far because I'm kind of playing it by ear. Once I see how much I think it's going to take me in the future, I'd like to kind of plan it out a little bit better. But for now, I'm kind of using it just to track so that I can visually see how long each unit is taking me. And I am using Tombows for this. So I picked 3 different colors and actually penciled in the number of the Tombow on the right here. And I need to go through and do for all of my second units. I need to pick a color and start filling that in. But if we're being honest, only my little guys have actually moved on to Unit 2. We're still doing their final project in this guy, and we're still working in this one. So that one's going to go almost until our October break, I think. So I'm starting to use this, but it's still kind of new, so we'll see how it goes eventually. I am not going to show you all of my weeklies. I'm going to show you next week. I've tried to cover anything that I thought might be kind of pertinent or personal information, but this is how I plan out my week. So I have my level, and I have what unit. So that's, for example, this one, I thought we were going to start Unit 2, class lesson 1. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen because we're still doing our final projects. So that's where you have. So each of my colors are for each of my levels. So I write which level it is, even though I know at this point what my colors represent. And then I have what class we're on in which unit. And then I write a little note on what we're going to be doing during that class. This is one that I try not to fill out too far in advance because things always end up changing, but I just like to have a general idea since I do have a much more detailed class, lesson plan in my binder. It's not necessary for me to have everything, but just kind of to pace out and see how things are going, basically. Then on here, I have my notes section and then a section for each of my classes. So you'll see I actually did not yet set up in 2 weeks. Whoops, that guy slipped under there. Ooh, there we go. But I have set it up again for in 3 weeks. So I like to have the same setup so that I can write in any pertinent information for each class. And yeah, that's basically, this guy gets a lot of use. I have kind of personal information on some of the other ones, so you can't really see, but they tend to fill up. This right-hand notes page gets a lot of use, so it's very nice, I think, to have just that full A4 to kind of keep track of things. So that is my weekly section, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip. I actually have blank pages here for all of my next week's up through week 36, which is the last week of school. And then I've got a little magnetic bookmark here, and this is getting into my gradebook section. So I'm only going to show you my youngest class because I didn't want to have to cover the names on all of them. So I've just kind of covered up the names for privacy reasons. And honestly, in here, I don't even put the last names. I only put the first names. So even if you were to see it, you wouldn't necessarily know who it was, but just I want to kind of do that. So what I've got up here is I have attendance. So I've labeled them attendance 1 and attendance 2 so that I know kind of where they go. And then I've actually bracketed by the week so that I know which week of school we're in. And I actually need to start doing, because I have, I didn't fill in my attendance on Thursday. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll only mark down the absentees, and then at the end of class or later on, I'll go back and fill in everything else. But what I think I need to do is, because I've got 2 classes on Thursday, I might need to split it in half so that I don't waste 2 full boxes. We'll see how that goes. So this is attendance. Then at the bottom here, I've got homework. So if I do give homework that's written, not just memorize the password or study your vocab words or whatever, if I give written homework, I will check it. So I have a stamp that I use to check that for. And so I actually have a system where if it's complete, I do an X. If it's partially done, I do 1 line of an X. And if it's not done, I do a dash. So that way I can kind of keep track of if I want to be a little bit lenient, then what I'll do is I just kind of keep an eye on it. And if they haven't done it 3 times in a row, then I have to write something home to parents kind of thing. So that's what I use this for. And then finally, we've got grades. Up here, I have the date it was given. I have what it's going to be out of. So out of 20, out of 10, or out of 5. And then at the bottom, I've written in pencil what the coefficient is going to be, because that's how grades function here. So for example, big tests tend to be coefficient 2. This was a pop quiz, so it's only going to be a half coefficient. So it's not going to be weighted as much in their grade. So then I don't actually write over here what it is out of 20 or 10 or 5 or whatever. I just write in what it actually was, but then when I'm going through, I know what it's out of. And then this I have ready to go for basically next week. I'll have the second attendance section. So all of my classes are actually set up like this. I've got attendance, homework, grades, and then attendance 2, except for one of my classes, I have 32 kids. So it's actually attendance, homework, grades. I actually had to cut it in half, and then it's on the next page. So, but they all are basically the same setup, and it's been working pretty well so far, which is nice. And you'll see that I do keep everything in the color code just for consistency's sake, so that my brain is like, yes, okay, this is definitely that class. Then, wasn't sure how to show you guys this. So I actually just went ahead and I put a second sticky note over to cover up all the names, but this is roughly how our class is set up. So like my desk is up here. And this has been super useful because a lot of, like pretty much all of my classes have, a couple of the kids have changed seats, and it's so easy for me to then just switch the Post-it note out. So I actually, after I do attendance, this is what I have open on my desk, because I've got most of the names down, but if ever I have like a brain fart and I'm not sure what the kid's name is, I can just look on here and I have it like directly. So this has been super, super helpful. I still have not implemented for participation, and I have a couple of ideas of how I want to do that. So I'm not really sure if I'm going to end up using this for participation or not, but at the very least, it really helps me learn the kids' names with the seating chart. So I have this for all of my classes. And then the last thing that I have in here, whoopsie daisy, is my personal absence log. And I actually had just one class that I missed because I had to go to a meeting. But I have this so that I can keep track if I'm like sick, or if I have a meeting somewhere that makes me miss class, then I know where it is. And then in the back here, normally I keep our attendance logs, but I actually ran out, so I don't have any more. And I've got, if any kids give me like tardy slips or whatever, I put them in the back here just so that I hang on to them in case. But yeah, basically everything that I set up in here, in all of my notebooks, everything that I've set up, I have been using. Some with more success than others, for example, in the case of my toddler's notebook. But again, I kind of knew that this one wasn't going to be as necessary until I got into, having more homework, having exams, and working on my thesis. So I think that once that kind of picks up, this will be more and more useful for me. But my system is so complete for work that I really can just rely on these two, and it's been working out really, really well. I've actually had, I think every single teacher that I've worked with, pretty much all of them, have made some comment about how organized I am. So I think that's a good sign, because I hate feeling like I don't know where something is, or, I don't have enough copies or what have you. So if you guys saw the What's in My Teacher Bag video, you'll know some of the other things that I brought, but I just wanted to give you guys kind of an update on how this particular system that I set up this summer was going, since I wasn't sure if the spreads that I had chosen to put in here, or like my order for organizing things, if it was actually going to work. And I am happy to report that actually everything works. The only thing that I do need to figure out is a way of filing the units that I'm finished with, because obviously I'm going to want to keep them in case I need them for, another year. And I'm kind of torn between getting like a big kind of accordion folder and having them in there like that, or getting separate binders, like even bigger binders, maybe like a 3-inch ring binder, and try and color code them and have them for each of my grade levels. So that I have, all of my 6th grade lesson plans are in this binder, all of my 7th grade lesson plans are in this binder, all of my 8th grade are in this binder. So that's one that I'm not sure about. But in terms of the lessons that I'm currently working on, this actually works really, really well. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions or comments, or any like things that really work for you and your like teacher planning life, please leave them down below. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.